As Donald Trump prepares to re-enter the White House, fears of a looming trade war with Europe intensify. His proposed tariffs on imports threaten to destabilize the European economy, particularly impacting Germany's exports-driven sectors. With the EU's reliance on the US as its largest market, leaders are caught between negotiating for concessions and preparing to potential retaliation. This episode delves into the implications of Trump's protectionist policies and explores whether Europe can withstand what some are calling its worst economic nightmare. Welcome to In Depth.
We can fix every single problem our country faces and lead America, and indeed the whole world. USA! This is a magnificent victory for the American people. Promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again.
The Telegraph has reported that the EU is prepared to retaliate against potential US tariffs under Trump, using measures like the anti-coercion instrument to target Republican districts. However, provoking Trump risks jeopardizing the EU's reliance on US military protection. Some European leaders see Trump's actions as an opportunity to strengthen a more centralized EU, while others, like Macron, fear internal division, with countries potentially allying with the US. The EU faces severe economic consequences from a trade war given its $230 billion trade surplus with the US, largely driven by Germany's exports. Europe also risks the fallout from Trump's trade war with China, which could further harm its manufacturing base and destabilize global trade. Bloomberg has stated that while much of the focus on the incoming Trump administration's international economic policy is on tariffs, there is also the potential for more restrictive financial measures such as capital controls. The first Trump administration used presidential authority to significantly increase tariffs on imports from China, Europe, and others, setting a precedent for the second term. In this period, tariffs are expected to remain a primary tool. A severe scenario could involve a full trade ban across all sectors, which could heavily impact global economies. According to a forthcoming Bank of Italy study, such a scenario could lead to a 5% loss for the US, nearly 10% for the EU, and a 20% decline for China. Donald Trump's recent election has reignited fears of widespread tariffs on imports, potentially destabilizing transatlantic trade. His proposed 10% to 20% duties could severely impact the European Union's economies, especially Germany, which relies heavily on exports, raising concerns of a trade conflict.
The recent election of Donald Trump has reignited concerns about tariffs and their impact on transatlantic trade. Trump's proposed strategy includes imposing tariffs of 10 to 20% on imports, a move that could severely affect the European Union, particularly Germany, which depends heavily on exports. The aim of Trump's tariff policies is to strengthen American manufacturing by making imported goods more expensive and thereby promoting domestic production. However, this protectionist approach risks triggering a trade war with Europe. In 2023, the European Union exported approximately 502.3 billion euros in goods to the United States. Analysts estimate that a 10% tariff could shrink Europe's GDP by up to 1.5%, resulting in potential economic losses of around 260 billion euros. Germany, as the European Union's largest economy and a key exporter of vehicles, would be especially vulnerable. A 10% tariff could lower Germany's GDP by about 1.6%. In response, European Union officials are calling for negotiation and cooperation over confrontation, stressing the importance of unity among member states to manage the potential fallout. However, diverging national interests within the European Union may complicate efforts to present a cohesive stance against United States trade policies. Escalating trade tensions pose risks not only to the European Union but also to global trade and investment. Retaliatory measures could disrupt supply chains, exacerbate inflation, and undermine economic stability worldwide. As the two sides navigate these complex trade dynamics, the looming threat of a full-scale trade war underscores the need for careful diplomacy to mitigate its impact on global commerce.
I will bring back the American dream. We need the American dream to come back home.
Right, welcome back. And for more analysis, we're joined from Texas by Frank Musmar, a professor of political economics and chancellor of Maryland University. And we're also joined from Cairo by Dr. Mohsen Salamoni, a professor of economics of London University. Welcome, for both gentlemen. And let me start here with Mr. Musmar. And what are the primary objectives behind Donald Trump's proposed tariffs on Europe's imports?
Thanks for having me. Well, America first, America first. You know, this is what Donald Trump said, and this is what he actually campaigned on. America first means like the interest of America. I understand, like from the introduction that you offered, of course, there is a concern in Europe and concern in China. But of course, you know, once Donald Trump starts applying his promises, is going to be based on, you know, his promises, America first.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Salamoni, how do you anticipate the European Union will respond if Trump implements these tariffs?
Yes, we need first to see what is around all of us around the world. Number one, when we look back a bit at the Biden regime, the 4 years of Biden's as a president of the United States, Biden believed his enemy was Russia, and believed that he has really to weaken or destroy the Russian economy. And that's why the war between Russia and Ukraine, this was created and implemented, and unfortunately Putin fell into that. And also the second thing of that, it was really to break the Russian involvement in the European economy. This is exactly what's the purpose of that. Today, Trump becoming as a president, Trump is a businessman, does not believe on war. And I believe he is using his power as a president of the United States by saying that, you know, I'm going to put the tariff up. And he thinks that, you know, because there's a big deficit in export between Europe and America. It's Europe and America, the total number, it's about 700 billion. And Europe export to United States around the 563 billion. America and China export, between them is 670 billion. China export to United States around 563, and United States export to China, it's about 195 billion. when this is a big gap, is a big deficit for United States. And Trump believes that, a tariff, it will be an effective message to reduce that deficit and also encourage the big companies to come in and manufacture their goods in United States and make United States as more supplying and more giving, all right, than United States importing goods. This also to do with the globalization of the world, all right. Today, if we look around us here, we see that the war between Russia and Ukraine, all right, really the biggest beneficiary of that war is United States and Russia, United States and China. And today, United States, they're going to focus so much on technology and tech. China has benefit of that. Everybody was involved and busy with the Russia-Ukraine war, and the China building their technology to the highest level. And today, the gap in technology between United States and China is very, very close. Also, the second point here, which we have to look at it, all right, is the dollar domination here. The dollar domination today, Russia and China and Saudi Arabia and Egypt, they're breaking away from the dollar nomination. This is going to affect the United States controlling and United States, okay, controlling economy of different countries through the dominant effect of United States on other economy by using the dollar. Europe today is weaker and in a difficult situation. But having said that, if Trump did not manage and use, to reach to an agreement with Europe, what we're going to expect? We're going to expect a trade war. Trade war here is what? United States is going to put the tariff up. Europe going to put tariff up. Inflation will go higher and will soar everywhere. Also, that will give something amazing here. China, I believe, going to benefit out of that war by putting the 60% on China. That will make China flooding the European market with a cheaper good than America. Therefore, I believe nobody going to benefit out of that.
Dr. Salmouni, yes, you have explained the whole situation very well, and yes, expectations are so hard. Mr. Musbar, if I get back to you, and how do you foresee these tariffs impacting the U.S. economy? You spoke about America first. So how do you foresee these tariffs impacting the U.S. economy itself, particularly in terms of the GDP and the employment rates?
Okay, let me just highlight a few things, just commenting on your guest and what he was saying. First of all, I want to take you just a little bit backwards to the 1962. 1962, the United States was the biggest producer of chicken. And we used to sell chicken to Europe, whatever called now European Union. At that time, we used to sell it to them for $1.6. And then they imposed taxes on it, tariffs, and that jacked it up to $2.60, which is actually started at that point the war against the United States using tariffs. The United States retaliated at that time, and we imposed 25%, which is still actually up to date on their vehicles, especially Volkswagens and Mercedes and products of Germany. Okay, now the idea is from that point and from my example, that led to what's called reciprocal taxes agreements between the United States and Europe. We brought Europeans here and we agreed on a tax limit between each others. Now, when we trying to impose tariffs, which is actually a tactical weapon, tariff is not a weapon, it's a tactical weapon to impose strategies and to impose different policies later on. China deserves 500% taxes to be imposed on him because we don't have any reciprocal agreements, tax agreements between the United States and China. And the Chinese are not honest in doing their taxes, and they are actually cheating and stealing the American
No,
technology.
we cannot go into such terms.
Okay.
We cannot
Well,
go
I
into such
understand,
terms.
but what I'm trying to tell you, like, we need to bring the Chinese here to the United States and ask and beg for reciprocal tax agreements, because that's what we need, and that's what the world needs. In the United States and China, they are actually the rising power in economy, and they are the one they're going to shape how it's going to look like in the future. And actually, Donald Trump did not decide to impose taxes at the same level between us, the United States and Europe, or between us and China. We were talking about different percentage. Something else just to highlight for your guest and for the people that they listen, the Biden administration did not avoid any tax that was imposed during the first Trump era against China. Actually,
But
on
here,
top of that, he imposed
here you didn't
extra
speak
taxes.
much. Here you didn't speak much about how will that reflect on the U.S. economy, which was the question.
Okay. Now I understand. But what I was trying to tell you that if we don't do this as the United States, we're gonna kill our industry and we're gonna kill our productions and our economy later on. It's not the point of today. Now, this is a process. It's going to take time. It's not magic. Now, maybe at the beginning, you're going to see like a little bit more inflation is going to happen. But afterwards, when we started to give tax cuts and we're trying to attract more manufacturing businesses to start coming back to the United States, over time, that is going to reflect the results of those tax imposes. And in the meantime, as I told you, it's not a weapon. It's not going to last forever. The idea of using a tactical tariffs, it's called tactical, okay? Once you use that, you try to impose different policies afterwards. And China really deserved to be treated like that because they have to accept the global tariff system. They are trying to utilize all kind of taxes and tariffs against Europe, and actually Europe under the pressure of that. We could even help Europeans. Now, Europeans are complaining now because we might attack them with that. No, we're trying to reach a reciprocal tax agreements with Europeans. So it's going to be fair taxing. They tax us, we tax them. They drop it, we drop it. And that's how it works. Other than that, you will find a one-party dominant in the tax world, and that will be China.
Dr. Salmouni, if you have any comment on Dr. Musmar's and how do you think Trump's tariffs could impact the overall transatlantic trade relationship between the U.S. and Europe?
Well, I believe Trump is more biased to Europe, and our guest here also is more biased to Europe. All right, but we have to
biased. He was speaking here about reciprocal tariffs.
Yes,
speaking about
yes.
And it doesn't have to do with any kind of bias.
But if you look today, say it, in gas, in terms of gas, LG, all right, Europe used to get, gas coming up to their own home from Russia at a very, very cheap price. Today, they pay 4 times the price of gas from United States, all right? And that's affecting the economy of Europe. In terms of inflation, prices also is coming higher and wages is going up higher, all right? It cannot be, a trade war here between Europe and Russia. And also the relationship between United States and Europe it's supposed to be a very close relationship. But I believe the effect of the war on Russia and also currently now the war in Gaza and Israel and the support, all right, America needs support from Russia, all right, to help Israel on that situation. That's also is going to be effective, really, and also cause some problem between the relationship between Europe and Russia if Trump goes in and increase the tariff to that really horrendous amount of 10 to 20% on goods there. I believe Trump is going to use that level to try to use to get a concession from European countries to have a fair trade deal between both of them. And now both of them have involved, the WTO, which is the World Trade Organization, to try to conduct this negotiation on reaching to a level of tariff between both of them. And I believe they will reach to an agreement, because neither United States, neither Trump, neither European country can afford to have a trade war together. Where is the current market now is in really in a violent situation, and unstable situation there, and economy, most of the country, and the European country economy also, I find it is very weak.
The world economy is in a dire situation indeed. Mr. Mosmar, what potential consequences do you anticipate for the European economy, especially in key sectors like, for an instance, automotive manufacturing?
Okay, well, just to highlight and just comment on some of the points that your guest mentioning, we are not the godfather of Europeans. We are a country at the end, and we need to look for our benefits as well. Now, actually, the main, let's say, side effects of the war between Russia and Europe. It's the effect of the economy of Europe, but Europeans are the ones that they're asking for it. Now we are trying to support Europe. Now,
would you make that clear a little bit, Mr. Musmar?
Well, actually,
ask for what?
The Europeans are the one asking to be defended against Russia's because
the European so you're saying here that the European have initiated the Russia-Ukraine war?
It's not.
This is what you're saying here.
It's not in that term. But that war is affecting them big time, and we are the one that we are trying to defend them on that. Now, defending them at what cost? Now, at the same time, in that manner, we're trying to help them with gas and supplies according to what your guest said, and we are selling it to them for higher prices than the prices that they were receiving from Russia, which is actually not true. We are trying to match, but of course, the prices are different, depends on transportations, depends on all kind of prices related to the gas and oil. So the idea is they cannot just be all the time complainer. We are not the godfather of European countries. In the meantime, their actually products is invading the United States.
Your point is clear. Your point is clear, Mr. Musmar. Yes. And before we continue,
the idea is reciprocal tax agreements. That's fair. That's enough and fair.
Yes, but before we continue our discussion, let's take a look at the US-EU trade relations. So stay tuned. Right, welcome back, and back to you, Dr. Salmouni. And as we heard Mr. Musmar, he was speaking about the U.S. interests, and they have to deal reciprocally, and they are not the godfather to protect the Europeans for all these conversations that you've heard and we've followed together. Now, how do you foresee the broader implications of Trump's tariffs affecting global trade and the supply chains beyond just Europe?
I personally believe Trump presidential could mark the end of the globalization. And today, Europe need very much to build a coalition with really minded country, all right, to preserve the prosperity, which is very much founded on trade. This is what Europe need to do. And Europe need to, to be able to cope and change its way of trading business. And also, this is something here very important because United States has pushed UK, Britain to come out of Europe. And Trump, during his last presidency, promised that UK and promised Boris Johnson that he's going to have a trade deal with them worth of 300 billion. This has never materialized because, Trump did not win the election at that time. Now, Britain their economy is suffering as a result of their Brexit out of Europe, and also they did not find the suitable trade deal with other countries to be able to build their economy and to build GDP.
Indeed, Dr. Salmouni, indeed, the economy of the whole world is really reeling hard, and there is much that the world is anticipating from this upcoming stage. That was Frank Musmar, a professor of political economics, and Dr. Mohsen Al Salmouni, a professor of economics at London University. Thank you so much, both gentlemen, for your insights. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of In Depth. Many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on Qnews.